Jacinda Ardern's Labour government was very controversial. Elected in 2017, Jacinda Ardern's Labour government finally returned the Labour Party to power after 9 long years in opposition. Labour won in spite of National getting a larger share of the vote due to the support of New Zealand First and the Green Party. Labour won a massive victory in the 2020 election. The following 3 years were characterised by constant controversy and a Labour Party that increasingly stagnated and declined in the polls. Ardern left and Hipkins took over in an attempt at getting the party into fighting shape before the 2023 election. Yet this was not enough, and Hipkins suffered a devastating defeat in the 2023 election. After 6 years, the Labour Party was once again out of power. Jacinda Ardern's Labour government is highly controversial. It is my view that anyone who is not a partisan hack can recognise that Jacinda Ardern's Labour government had a mixed record. It was not all bad, and it was not all good. This is true of any government, and anyone who says otherwise is a partisan hack who treats politics like a team sport. Here I am going to conduct a basic review of Jacinda Ardern's Labour government. First, we shall look at the successes of this government, and then we shall look at its failures. The Labour government was pro-worker in many meaningful ways. Unemployment was kept at a reasonably low rate. The minimum wage was raised by a significant amount. The government's Fair Pay Agreement legislation empowered trade unions and working people. To a large extent, the government was true to its pro-worker identity and values. The initial COVID-19 response was excellent. COVID-19 was minimised within the community until vaccinations could be conducted. This prevented the significant death rates and overwhelmed healthcare systems that plagued other countries. The initial COVID response was undeniably extremely effective, with life expectancy increasing during a pandemic. The government introduced long overdue abortion law reform. The government encouraged the use of electric vehicles, helping to address climate change. The government built masses of state homes. Jacinda Ardern's Labour government had numerous impressive achievements. These achievements are meaningful. They have a significant impact on the lives of New Zealanders. But the Labour government also had a not-so-great side. The Labour government wanted to introduce crude hate speech laws that would have seriously damaged freedom of speech in New Zealand. The Labour government's COVID response started to become questionable in its later stages. An emphasis on promising people freedom for summer was prioritised over stressing the medical benefits of the vaccine. This fixation on state-created incentives fanned the fires of conspiracism, as people came to believe the government's best argument for vaccination was gesturing at the incentives that it had created. The government should have emphasised the medical benefits of vaccination, but instead they essentially said you should get vaccinated because we want you to. This was the message of their 2 Shots for Summer campaign, and it played into the hands of the conspiracy theorists. The ute tax was questionable because it punished farmers and tradies for their career choice. A lack of serious electric ute choices condemned these people to greater taxation simply due to their careers. This is not acceptable behaviour from a pro-worker political party. A ute tax exists to discourage people from buying polluting vehicles. Yet farmers and tradies have no choice but to purchase such vehicles, so the ute tax amounted to a pointless financial punishment that hit working class people. The government's pro-worker stance was made more questionable during the vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandates for the healthcare industry were understandable and justified. but the government's relaxed approach to letting any old company introduce a mandate was very questionable. This gave companies control over the bodily autonomy of their workers. A Labour government should limit the power that a company has over its workers. In the ensuing free-for-all, Labour failed to do so, as many companies were given free rein to push any conditions they liked. Personally, I am very pro-vaccine, but I do not like companies having this degree of power over their employees without good cause. Decisions of bodily autonomy should be made by individuals, not their employers. Some may say that you have a choice and could just leave your job, but the coercive element is obvious. They allowed employers to wield enormous power over their employees when it came to the vaccine. The Labour cabinet was plagued by a lack of discipline. Ministerial scandals were never-ending. Stuart Nash, Michael Wood, Kerry Allen. The controversies were constant. Many of the Labour ministers did not take their positions seriously. They were irresponsible, incompetent, and idiotic. The Labour government offered laughable weak policies in the 2023 election. A ridiculous GST or fruit and veg policy that would be a bureaucratic nightmare at best and a corporate handout at worst. A promise of free dental care was inevitably going to fail to gain traction when current government services are inadequate. When current government services are plagued by long wait lists and understaffed facilities, people will not trust the government to take on additional healthcare responsibilities. Labour failed to provide serious policy solutions in the 2023 election. Labour increasingly looks like a party that had run out of ideas. The Labour government failed to live up to its identity as a progressive party. Many basic progressive policies, such as decriminalising cannabis, were ignored. The Labour Party displayed no interest in electoral reform, taxation reform, and drug law reform. These things are very much required, and a left-wing political party should be bold enough to introduce them. In many ways, Labour was weak and moderate. New Zealand needs serious, bold solutions, and they failed to deliver. The Labour government was better than the corrupt, donor-serving government that we currently have, but Labour was not great. We should not view Labour as the ideal. We should not demand a simple return to Labour. We should demand something better, because that is what the people of New Zealand deserve. Labour is better than the right, but Labour as it currently stands is not good enough.